how to build bulletproof, yes, I said it, bulletproof systems in your law firm. This is going to be an amazing video from someone who is a practitioner. This is not theory, everyone. This is someone who is running their firm. Here's a funny example as to the freedom that Jay, who we have on the call today, who runs a 13 attorney law firm in Connecticut and really dominates his market. When I asked him when we could do our videos, he was like, yep, anytime after 10, and the funny thing is the courts start at 10, right?
Right, exactly. Yeah, courts start at 10. But I actually wait to put my kids on the bus. Then I have breakfast. Then I'll shower up and I'll come into the office. So I arrive around 10 o'clock every day.
So I just thought that was funny. As soon as, court starts, he's removed because he has systems to ensure consistency. Now, he showed me very quickly how this is broken down for his firm. Basically, he has every single type of crime and case, pretty much prescriptions, maybe you could explain better than me, behind what his staff should do in almost every situation with video and then bulleted follow-up, with each video on an intranet on his website.
Absolutely. So a little historical note here. I started my practice in 98, joined up with my father in 2001. After having been a public defender. And when I was in public defender's office, I started developing rudimentary systems because it was really the only way that I could survive the onslaught of cases that I had. So every Monday night consistently was my jail night. I would go and I'd see the same CO and she'd have all my clients lined up ready to go. And it just became a way for me to manage my caseload. And then going forward, as we started to develop our practice, I started recognizing that a systems-based practice would allow me to really sort of pay attention to the details, or at least have the people that work for me pay attention to the details, and allow me to do that higher level legal thinking because I wasn't bogged down in getting the rudimentary stuff done. One of the things that a lot of lawyers hesitate about systems is that they say, well, every case is unique and I can't apply systems to because, I have to approach every case, with its own unique needs and the people that are involved and et cetera. And I'll agree with that. Every case truly is unique. But there are some things across all cases that are not unique. How you file a motion at the courthouse, what standard motions you should file immediately upon getting involved in a case, and what things you should make sure that you always cover with a client in preparation for a particular type of court hearing so that they are aware of what's going on and they are fully informed. So what we did going back, it really all gelled together for me back in 2008. It was a Sunday afternoon. I was getting ready for a trial starting the next day, and I needed to put something in the mail, and there was only 39 cents on the postage meter back then, and I needed 41 cents for a stamp. So I could not execute what I needed to execute. And I realized that although I was this lawyer, I was the owner of the business, I didn't know how to add postage to the meter, and that frustrated me. So what I did is I turned to my staff the next day. I said, look, there's a lot of things that you guys know how to do that I don't know what to do. So what we need to do is document those systems so that we have a place to go. And it literally just started with a 3-ring binder of how to do things. The first system we built was how to add postage to the postage meter. And then from there, it was how to answer the phone, how to turn the answering service on or off, how to make a copy, how to make a 2-sided copy on the copier. Stuff that you could figure out if you had the time, but it was better to have a resource to go to. And then that just sort of snowball effect started to build. We went from having it be a 3-ring binder to being Word documents saved on our server to then Google Drive documents saved in the cloud. And then what we did most recently is actually we built our own Wikipedia for our office. And it has about 1,500, 1,600 systems in it already. And every week we're adding more and more systems to it so that if there's a question on how to do something, we have a system for it. It's done consistently the same way across the board by everyone involved. And you always have that resource to lean on when the person who has the immediate knowledge, it's out of their head, it's into a system, and the business can function basically without anybody at the helm.
And there's two books on this for everyone watching. And I don't know if this came naturally to Jay, but there's two books that immediately come to mind that every business owner must read at some point. It's The E-Myth Revisited by Michael Gerber, and it's the book Traction, which is written by Gino Wickman, who, believe it or not, I'm in Strategic Coach. He's in the room right next to me at Strategic Coach.
That's awesome. I love that book.
Yeah, so Traction, this is literally what you're following. You are a practitioner of these books. And there's three phases that I identified talking to you, and I broke it down. There's phase one is documentation. Phase two is so you get into the habit of documentation. Phase two, it seems, is incentivizing. And then phase three is enforcing accountability to follow the systems. So you talked about the documenting of the systems, but now everyone's wondering, well, how do I get myself and people to do this? And you had a very fascinating system of incentivizing your team members for building systems. You said, I think the most creative system, simplest, wackiest system, all of these have incentives with dollar amounts attached to each of them. So tell us more about the incentivization system for building systems.
Well, one of the things that you have to realize is, as a lawyer and as the owner of the business, is that, you know, a lot of people like to hold on to knowledge in their head because they feel that it makes them valuable to the firm. But what I want to do is I want to hire people that can think at a higher level, and so that they're not just people executing the bare bones functionality. They're able to bring creative ideas to the mix, and they're able to do that because we've taken out the bandwidth that goes with having to worry about some of the simpler things. So we first start out with, anytime anybody asks a question, the first response is going to be, did you check in what we call Ruane Co? Or did you check in our systems index? Because if there is a system there, well, that answers your question. I don't need to answer it for you, right? So that's the first thing. So inevitably, when someone comes to me, it's, did you check? And sometimes I hear, no, I didn't. And so they turn around, they walk out, and they check. Sometimes I hear, I did, and there's no system. And if that goes off, then we have to have an immediate discussion among the two of us. Is this a system that the staffer can create? And if they do create it, there's a financial reward for creating the system. Or if it's something that I need to create, I'll go ahead and create it and then point them to it so that they can review it and make sure they can execute based on the stuff that I've created in the systems. And one of the reasons why I want to push it onto them to create the systems, I think I've created about 350 of our 15 to 1600 systems, is that I want them to feel a sense of ownership over the system and say, this is best practices, this is how I've done it, I'm part of this team. And so I want them to have a desire to be part of the systems that are in place. And so what we have found is that by truly getting people to buy in and create systems themselves, we are able to get really everybody adopting all the systems that we have in place. And they're quick to point out when people don't follow the systems because they know it's so important to the functionality of the firm.
So that right there, that one takeaway, incentivizing systems is worth hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars over the course of your running your law firm. When it comes to incentivizing systems, I do want to make one point, and this is a big realization I've had after taking the Colby assessment, again, that personality test that I'm very fascinated with, which measures how high the people on your team are in 4 quadrants. There's fact finder, there's follow through, there's quick start, and then there's implementer. So there's these 4 quadrants. People who are high on fact finder, they're not good at simplifying things. They make things very complex. They go very deep. They're good at digging into the details way more than they should. But that's also a strength because some people on the team are low fact finder and just keep making generalizations. So you need someone to cut through the fluff and find the raw truth. Then you have the follow through, which is the systems component. The highest follow through members on your team are the people who are systems oriented. Building a system for them is like, putting butter on bread. It's very easy, but there's low follow throughs. These people are good at one-off situations, creative problem solving. A lot of entrepreneurs fall into a low follow through quadrant because they're good at cutting through bureaucracy, cutting through systems, which actually forges the way for new systems if other team members make it. Then there's high quick start, which are high risk takers. And then there's the last quadrant, which is implementer, which these are like the technical know-how individuals on your team who just want to do something that requires technical specialty. So I always say, beware putting the burden of building systems on people on your team who are like the Picassos, right? Like if Albert Einstein, for example, was told, hey, Einstein, you know, we love all your science stuff, but what we need you to do is we need you to stop all this, you know, in-depth science stuff. We need you to manage a team of scientists and build systems around your, you know, thinking. He'd be like, screw that. Like I want to do the science. He's an implementer. That's a good example there. So to force follow through tasks on an implementer is tough. So you have to be self-aware of your team and not force, like, for example, a lot of salespeople are high on quick start, real bad at systems, right? This is like a common thing known because they're really good at, you know, being on the spot. But if you incentivize your team, you'll see pretty quickly, I'm assuming, who is more systems oriented, and they're going to gravitate towards those tasks. But to have someone who's super disorganized and very extroverted go and hunker, bunk down and create systems could be hard. But you've obviously, I mean, do you agree with what I'm saying, or do you think that anybody can do it with incentives?
Well, I think, anybody can do it with incentives if you find the right type of incentives for the person. Some people are truly incentivized by money. Other people are incentivized by praise or by knowing that they're an important part of a team. So if you identify what their incentive that resonates with them is, you can really turn it on its face. I've had people who said, hey, I'm going to develop the systems for this vertical that we do in the office because they want to know that they've done everything from start to finish, right? And they feel a sense of pride in saying, I've documented everything that we need to do. And we recognize that in the office. So it's about finding what resonates with people and making sure that you give them what resonates with them, what makes them feel good. A lot of people obviously are incentivized by money. And so we do create, we'll have blitzes. Like we'll take the month of March will be a systems blitz. And so I'll say, okay, this month I want to create 100 new systems. And in these systems, these things are going to get paid out money. And as long as everybody at least creates one, there's a pot that everyone's going to get to share in down the line. And it's just a way to sort of gamification of building your business. And the thing that I want most lawyers to understand is there really isn't much value in a lawyer or law firm that you can sell at the end of your career. Everyone talks about it. Oh, well, I can sell my practice. It's not like an insurance agency where you can turn around and you have, this much of residual income coming in every month from recurring payments, right? A lawyer really sort of builds a brand of themselves, and it doesn't really have value after that lawyer is gone. But if you have those systems and you want to say, hey, look, here's our practice area for whatever it is, if it's for speeding tickets, or it's for slip and falls at malls, or it's for trust and estates for people with no children. Whatever your niche is, and you have all the systems built out, that's something you can sell to another law firm, because then they're actually getting something tangible, something that has value that they can turn it in. And if you mirror that or you match that with your actual expenses for advertising or marketing those verticals, it becomes a very viable product that you can sell that you wouldn't have been able to do otherwise. So building your systems now can give you dividends in the future for sure.
And it's almost like this is why I'm so into meditation, is because I haven't missed a day in maybe 5 years, it teaches you to depersonalize from projects in your life. And that's what it does for me, is it allows me to look at my business as a project, as something that, if I were to build this business as though the entire business was a product, right? That forces you to push the business away and inspect it as an ecosystem, as its own ecosystem. And it allows you to get less personally wrapped up in, I'm the best trial attorney ever, no one can do it like me. Well, great, suffer the rest of your life being on call for every single client you ever get and have no freedom,
Exactly. And that goes back to something that we talked about in another video, and it's the ego of a lawyer is what can kill a lawyer. I know from, I'm sure you can spend some time on any newspaper and you can see lawyer arrested, and it's usually arrested for problems associated with their ego. Either they're stealing money from clients because they believe that they should be driving around in a fancier car than they can afford, or living a lifestyle that they can't necessarily afford, or if it's problems with substance abuse because they got to keep going, keep going. And so they fall into that trap. Ego is the big killer, right? And so if you can set up systems in your office, you can sort of, divorce your ego from the living, breathing entity that your business is. And that can serve you well long-term just for your own mental health.
So, and yeah, that's an important thing. Last question here is, and this is the biggest question really, I think, in business, is accountability, right? What is accountability to you? You seem like similar to me, where you're like more of the zoomed out idea guy who's likable and, upbeat, right? But then if someone doesn't follow the system, what happens? What is accountability to someone like you?
So what we say really in our office is that we have a system for doing things, and it is the system that everyone should follow. And if you don't want to follow that system, that's fine. We're okay with that. It just means you're not meant to work here, right? So it's stay, enjoy, follow our systems. But if you just say, you know what, this isn't for me, this isn't the lifestyle for me, I want to be able to handle my cases this way, well, that's great. Go handle those cases your own way in your own practice. But through 20 plus years, and successfully being able to stay in business, because it's a tough thing to stay in business. I mean, my business as a criminal defense lawyer, I essentially compete with free, right? Someone goes to the courthouse, for the most part, if they answer the questions correctly, they're going to get a public defender. So I'm competing with a free lawyer. And I have to get people to hire me with cash out of their pocket, essentially paying for something that either they did or were accused of, that they don't necessarily want to spend more money on a bad memory, right? And so what we say is, here's our systems, follow our systems. If you don't follow your systems, then just simply leave. No, it's no problem. Not everybody is, I'm not supposed to have relationships with people for their entire working career. There are some people I'd love to work with forever. There's some people that I'm glad they were here for a year and left, because it gave them the opportunity to do what they wanted to do. But in the living, breathing thing that is this business, there is one way we do things. Just like in my living, breathing body, there is one way I eat, and it's putting food in my mouth, right? I don't try to eat by putting food in my ear. I follow the systems that's necessary to survive. I take breath in through my lungs, and I distribute oxygen. I follow that system, right? I don't even think about it. It just happens. We want that way. That's the way that we want people to operate in our office. Follow the systems that work. And if you don't like them, great. Move on. Leave in peace. That's okay. Just you go do your thing, but we're going to stay and do our thing because we know we execute it well.
It's like what Mike Mogill said. If you saw his speech, his most recent one, he sent a Slack message to his entire team and said, if you are 100%, if you are not 100% on board with where we are going as a company, message me by 6 p.m. today, and I will pay you immediately 4 weeks severance, and I will help you find a new position. And Absolutely. He sent that to his entire team. Very interesting that you guys are on the same page with that. So Jay, again, unbelievable content here. For everyone who watched this video, watch it again, watch it 3 times, watch it 10 times. There is so much wisdom in this. Systems, I believe, is actually probably the most undervalued part of running a law firm, because everyone thinks that, you have to be the creative problem solver. So we do have another video on breaking past plateaus in business, where I talk about how when you start a business, you're the creative problem solver for everything, but then at some point that becomes unsustainable. And Jay has found a way to make not only his life, his family life, but also his business sustainable for him, to the point where I asked him to do this video and he's like, yeah, I'm pretty much free from 10 on every day. So if you want that level of freedom, implement what Jay's saying. Also, Jay is the owner of FirmFlex, which you can access at getfirmflex.com. He's scaled his own internal social media marketing for his firm, and now he's offering at under $100 a month a service that allows you to be held accountable for posting on social media as a lawyer. Also, if you're interested in generating leads through PPC, Google Ads, really any form of internet marketing, go to smbteam.com. Submit your information there. We'd love to help you out with a free consultation. Regardless, thank you so much for your time, energy, and attention. Make sure you guys follow Jay on social media as well. Follow Bill Hauser Business on Instagram. Let's blow up together, everyone. Stay great.